Hey everybody, welcome back to Trekyards. I'm Captain Foley.
I'm Conus.
Today we're talking about a bridge. But not just any bridge. A Romulan bridge. Because we want to compare the Romulan bridge from TOS to the Romulan bridge we saw in Strange New Worlds.
And it should in theory be the same bridge.
Should be.
Because it is the same ship with the same commander on the same mission on the same day in the same year. So it should be the same bridge. So the first view is the ship is filmed mostly in close-ups, but there's a few wides. This is one of those wides of, this is the bridge of the Romulan bird of prey.
I wasn't super happy. It feels like a ship of the week on Voyager. It still does kind of have the cramped vibe of the TOS one. The fact that there's no main central terminal that they're at, and they have them in the center, but there's like 4 stations instead of one that's kind of in the middle, is a little annoying, but it was all right. I don't know why there's steam flowing down all over the place, but what did you think when you saw it?
I like that it has its own style that you understand. It knows what it's trying to be, but just in a similar way that in the previous episode with Angel, their ship, they've been board, it's just a warehouse. And you can see the concrete, right? This has the same feeling of it's just a soundstage with painted metal brick walls. Like there's no, for me, distinction of spaceship and room. It's just room, you know? I don't think they had much money left over, is the vibe it gives me, hence the dark light, simple stuff. I think they're running out of money. I mean, there's so much else in the episode, I get that, but it feels like very underbaked. And that's... It feels almost deliberate in how cheap it feels. Because the first original was very cheap, but also it has an almost entirely different vibe while still having a similar vibe. Oh, it's a tricky one to compare to. It does have the cramped, that's the biggest thing it has. That central connective tissue and cramped. But then you say that, and it has this outer corridor, which is clearly huge. Which you have an entire sequence they walk off into the edge of it. And they're clearly very far away from this middle, and you're thinking, well, why is there over 3/4 of the room empty space and a middle of cramped? So that the room kind of goes against its own art design in the show. I don't know why.
Yeah, I think too they tried to make it similar to Romulan bridges that we've seen before in TNG and stuff as well, which they shouldn't be doing. But the green lighting, ooh, green, that means Borg. I mean Romulan.
But it's so minimal as well. It's barely registering. I've digitally enhanced the lighting and you still barely see it. But let's go back and see what the original was. Here is 2 shots. Yes, they're the central complex, which though has these looking in elements, which are very carefully almost replicated. But it's very cramped. I mean, we've actually seen it better in fan films almost, when they rebuild it and you see the entire room. It's also cheap and simple, but has a certain Bosch flair to it.
Yeah, I'm glad they didn't go with the pink lighting, but purpley kind of lighting. I mean, that was Romulan back then, so yeah, this is a very small room. The feel of this ship, like the ship is only like 4 decks when you look at the blueprints for this thing, and plus it was a test bed for the cloak and for the plasma torpedoes.
Well, at least it was in the original TOS canon. The other,
but it's what it just was, because that's what it was originally. Yeah, so you get the feeling that it's not actually a luxurious ship. It's just a purpose-built ship. So there's no like amenities or anything, and it's a very small command center. But I like that central terminal with the different viewpoints. I just wish that they had maintained that instead of splitting them up into 4 and moving them to the outside. You know what I mean?
yeah, it's like they chose to do one thing and we just disagree with the one thing they choose to change. Yeah, this one always felt to me like a submarine, which very much probably intentional given it's a submarine episode. It's also all showing close-ups, but it doesn't so much feel like a room to me. Like, I don't really know what I'm looking at. There's a disconnect of it's just sort of space filled with things that we're being told is a spaceship. The other one feels like empty room with stuff in the middle, you know? But the next shot compares directly kind of a wide view, and I guess the things go down? No, okay, that's how it was. Okay, so there's 2 back stations, a front station, and just a control panel, and he's looking at the view screen, so it does have a specific front view, which I guess the captain stays at and controls via 2.
That's what it looks like, yeah. Like he's got 2 stations, and one has a viewer, and then you got the view screen that they're looking at. And so there are the different viewers that you can see around the center console in TOS, but like I said, they've just been moved to the which I like. I like that they each have their own, view terminal. But
Well, what it allows them to do is fill up the frame in that medium shot.
Yeah.
Versus filling up the center of the frame with stuff around. Because now, look at the other shot, you all of a sudden have a lot of space on the left. You're thinking, what is that? It was just the wall. In this other version, it's very dense in the middle, but it's also kind of, I said in a previous video, but the lighting, and I've enhanced it to make it brighter, but it's all bland greys. There's so little life to it. Whereas, the other one has a ton of character, a ton of life to it. I disagree. I think it should have had some purple lights. I think that would have helped kind of accent. I mean, tastefully done purple to kind of accent off all of their metal parts of their uniforms or whatever would have been a nice touch.
Yeah, I think purple would have been good. I just hope it wouldn't have been pink. Because you get both vibes from TOS, unfortunately. But you could have some darker purple, which would have worked a lot better than green for me personally. So.
Yeah, use the purple and the blues of the uniforms. Have those be your contrasting colours throughout the set. Or it's just so bland. And it could be anything from anything. It could be a Stargate set, it could be a Battlestar Galactica set, it could be a Star Wars set, it could be very much a Star Wars set. The next view, though, is another wide, to which they walk to the back with the corridor, I suppose, and I guess this is the front. No, this is the side view. Okay, so there's also a coffee maker on the right. But you can see more of the rest of the room, which, again, it just looks like a warehouse room.
Yeah. Yeah, you can see the commander's 2 stations there, and the view screen's on the right side of this image. But there you can see behind them, they have a display for what looks like a quantum singularity drive.
Which I have things about later, Stuart, so there's the tease.
I know. But this gives the room a lot more sense of space than we saw in TOS ever. Like, we didn't see much of the TOS interior at all, really. So I don't mind that they're adding a little bit to it, but it's too dark. This what reminds me, when I said ship of the week on Voyager, specifically I was thinking think tank, that kind of ship, that kind of vibe. Mixed feelings about this one. Again, it could be that it's not luxurious. It's not meant to be. It is designed. This one is an experimental test bed, so they just put the minimal amount of stuff in that they needed. It's not anything fancy.
The thing is, the room doesn't feel designed to me. It feels like they were reusing a space from a previous set and they added some stuff into it. Honestly, this looks like the room that they fit, because Discovery and Strange Worlds are on the same town. They're not very far from each other. This, to me, it looks like the room that the scientist guy was in, the other scientist guy, the Emerald Chain lab.
Oh, yeah.
It kind of has that same hexagonal vibe, just sort of generic
You're right.
walls. Like, It feels like this is that room with some stuff in the middle. And I think it almost could be, because this could be the door that they came through and then shot some people and they added, from some gravel to it, and it's the exact same vibe. It doesn't feel like a spaceship, and certainly not Romulan. Yeah, the more I'm looking at it, the less I like it, but you're also not meant to stare at it. These sets aren't designed to give you a sense of, Romulan design. Like, the main hero sets are, but these are meant to be quick and they're gone sort of moments. But the next shot, though, is, and in fact, literally as I was finishing off this, Timothy Peel, who did a lot of the graphics for this show, did actually release the full unedited graphic of this render, and he did confirm, yes, it was a sort of canon-breaking quantum singularity. So now he has canonically said that quantum singularity tech came in 100 years earlier than was always the canon. I was hoping beyond hope it was just the warp core, but he said no, it's quantum singularity.
Yeah. Yeah, I immediately when I saw it thought quantum singularity drive. And in Balance of Terror, Scotty says simple impulse, stuff like that.
Doesn't have warp.
Exactly.
That's the whole thing about it.
And the Romulans didn't start using quantum singularity drives till just around the TNG era anyway.
It was new. It was impressive.
Yes, it was, yeah. And if you follow Starfleet Battles or Starfleet Command, you know that they have warp. They don't have the quantum singularity drive. They have standard warp propulsion. This was just kind of a thing that, it's cool. It's a cool visual. Yay, you've done your research that Romulans use quantum singularity drives. But
it's kind of like if they hadn't, because they explicitly say in the episode as well, Kirk says we traveled at warp 9, which if they hadn't had other shows, you'd say, well, warp 9's too fast, because the point of, as time goes on, everything gets faster, but the warp scale gets changed. That in canon thing, you can then say, okay, fine, that's their warp 9, doesn't really matter. But when you make this sort of thing, it totally changes the entire fabric of the Romulan culture, because part of the quantum singularity is it implied that Pterodactyl is new, big, bold. It's so giant, so powerful, it needs this new power source to do it. It was able to be created because the quantum singularities were invented. The fact that this tiny ship can have one, needs one apparently, and yet, they say there's, just like Bounce Terror, it's only got so much power to do one thing or the other. So why has a sun, a micro sun, not got enough power to keep the systems on? If that's the limit of its ability, boy, the tech had to improve thousands of fold. What's the point then? I guess it could be a micro one, but just have a warp core. You can make a bigger warp core to generate more power. It's a huge, horrible mistake, and I give them only negative feedback. I'm sorry for doing this, because this could have just been warp core and never said. I'm really sorry they did this, because it just really hurts. I'm certainly ignoring this as a thing. TNG's still the granddaddy of that. Especially not for this. Maybe I could have bought the flagship had like Gen 0.1, but again, it devalues 800 years, because at that point, they're on Ultra Singularity 11.6. The technology is old as hell. You know, it's such the old technology that nothing about it should be cool or new. It's like us bringing a wheel in. We've had a wheel for so long, it's nothing.
Yeah. Well, with this being an experimental test ship, I wouldn't have minded it so much. But then, like you said, it needs to power the cloak, it needs to power the plasma, and also have your sensors working while you're cloaked. That could be not just a power issue. That could also be like when you can't beam when you're using cloak. We did a whole discussion on that when we talked about the bird of prey. It just smears the signals going out. With it being an experimental testbed, I wouldn't have as big a problem with them using this, but this supplies a lot of power, so there should be no real issues.
Yeah, it just makes it incredibly old technology when TNG comes along. Like, as old as their cloaking devices. I mean, it's nothing. It's, you know, all of the people in the Empire, every single person's always lived with this as the standard. It makes it just, yeah, makes it a non-entity in TNG.
And the fact they're using the TNG Romulan symbol as opposed to the TOS Romulan symbol, which was just some shapes instead of the bird. Small thing.
And this is why Strange World is a visual update. It does its own thing, and it isn't part of the main visual, because it you know, doesn't erase TOS. It's just doing its own side thing. But speaking of, this is another graphic that they released. I don't remember seeing the episode, but it might have been subtle. This is the cloaking graphic. Now, originally I thought, before I had the other graphic, this might have been what they meant to have put on the screen, and if it had been the cloaking graphic that they'd walked up to, perfect. But it wasn't, as we just saw. But they said, yes, they try to, the cloak is a big balls, they try to replicate that in some way. But this is the official cloak graphic of how the cloaking device looks in the Bird of Prey.
Yeah, well, and to be fair, that cloaking device picture is from the Enterprise incident where they stole one, because we didn't actually see it in Balance of Terror. But cool, I like this, and you're right. If this would have been on the wall, it would have been a lot better. It wouldn't have felt like a Quantum Singularity drive graphic. It would have made perfect sense for the situation they were in. Yes, please. I don't think I saw this at all in the background anywhere.
Not 100%.
Yeah, so I'm glad they were thinking about such things and trying to make them look similar to the original. I mean, got to give them a little bit of props for that.
Although similar is a bit of a stretch. They picked one graphic and then did everything else to make it updated apart from that. It's the least work, but still work.
Yeah. But anyway, I think it looks pretty cool.
Yeah, wish this was the other thing. Well, there you go, Stuart. That is the bridge. Definitely a less... I like it less the more I look at it. So I liked it a lot more at the start of this video.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. But as far as the pacing and the speed and the cuts of the episode, I think it works very well, because you're not supposed to focus on it too much or analyze it. But hey, welcome to Trekyards. We got you. Anyway. On that note, let us know what you thought about the bridge. Does it look worse now that you've looked at it more? What do you think about the Quantum Singularity drive? Let us know all these things in the comments down below. And please join us for conversations like this when we do our lives. So to make sure you do that, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and click the notification bell icon so you can join us for those lives and talk to us in real time.
And if you want to support what we do directly, we need that, because we rely on fan help, fan support, fan donations, etc. So a few great ways to do that. Patreon or join the channel. Both are monthly via Patreon and YouTube, or super chat during the lives. Any amount, any live does help, or super thanks. Any video in our massive thousands of video backlog, it's like a super chat, just a super thanks. It's really, really helpful. and it's often a beautiful surprise when we look at an old video and say, oh my god, it's amazing, and $5 is very much thank you sort of thing. Or buy shirts, etc. down below. There are links in the description. All those things are available. That's just for a bit of fun, really.
That's right. So, until next time, I'm Captain Foley.
I'm Connor. Bye, guys.
Gauge cloaking device.